studios of the MetroNews Radio Network in Morgantown, this is West Virginia's premier sports talk show.
From Weirton to Welch, Martinsburg to Matewan, and all points in between, this is the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Northside Automotive, Route 19 in Summersville. We'll beat the advertised price of any other dealer in the state, guaranteed. Now here's your host, Tony Caridi.
Hey everybody, good evening to you and welcome on board the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline train. Thanks so much for being with us. Busy Wednesday on this 11th day of the 11th month. And first off, a special thank you to all of our veterans out there that are listening in, regular listeners, for those of you that have served, for those of you that are currently in service to our country. We thank you for your support and your service to our country on this very, very special day. Coach Greg Hunter is with us in studio. We've got a busy show coming up in just a little bit. We're going to talk with the head basketball coach of West Virginia's first opponent. That is John Brannon, head basketball coach at Northern Kentucky. In his first season on the job, that name may be familiar. He was a very talented player at Marshall back in the late 1990s, and now getting ready for his first head coaching job, and his first game will come against the Mountaineers on Friday night at 7. We'll be talking with John Brannon. Also, joining us on the program, the veteran play-by-play voice of the University of Texas Longhorns, Craig Way, will be with us. We'll check in with Craig. We'll get his take on what has been a interesting season with the University of Texas football team. So we've got all of that going on. Plus, we begin with recruiting news. Now, you would think that since today is the first day of basketball signing, that we would have basketball recruiting news for you. No. Coach Hunter says, I'm not playing that game. Nope. On basketball signing day, I'm going to give you 2 new verbal commitments in football for the Mountaineers. Coach Hunter, what do we have?
West Virginia went into the state of Ohio for 2 new verbal commitments. One kid from Cincinnati, one from Dayton. West Virginia got a defensive back, Sean Mahomes from Lakota West High School in Cincinnati. Picked West Virginia over Purdue and Virginia. And then also in the state of Ohio from Dayton High School, Jeffrey Pooler, a defensive lineman, 6'3", 270 pounds, had been committed to Maryland, had backed off that commitment a while ago, obviously through all the Terps trials and tribulations. Tennessee had been making a push as of late. At one point, had been committed to Toledo, so he's bounced around, but looks like this is going to be his final commitment, though, as we know, signing date isn't for 3 months yet, so we'll see, wait and see. But West Virginia now, with these 2 latest commitments, 23 verbals in this class. Now, this class is going to go over the 25 limit because several of these kids are going to enroll at the semester break. So West Virginia can count as many, I think, as 4 or 5 of those kids back to last year's class, those that enroll at the midterm. So this class is probably going to be in the 27, 28 area if you count midterm signees and then the normal signees, normal signees in February. So still a few to go for West Virginia, but obviously an awful lot of work has been done.
And the vigil continues on Ferns.
You drive to Wheeling just to check on him once a week or so.
The Ferns vigil continues. You hearing anything?
Everything remains the same. I mean, he's a kid that's apparently has been down to Penn State, West Virginia, and for months now, everyone thought he was going to pull a trigger and make a decision, and everybody feels West Virginia's in great shape. But it's just a kid who's going to do it at his own pace. Different recruitment than most others, just because he doesn't talk to anybody about what his thought process is, and that's fine and good. It's his own decision, but West Virginia feels with his brother here that they're in good shape, but until they actually at least get a verbal commitment, you're left wondering a little.
You know Keenan Cummings, he follows recruiting.
Keenan's very, very good.
Keenan's very good recruiting, and I asked him yesterday, I said, okay, so what's up? What's the latest? And that's almost become his Waterloo. The Ferns recruitment has become, you could just feel you feel the angst. You feel the angst that young man has. He thought it was going to come down, so he's just kind Kind of like a guy whose wife's been pregnant for 13 months, right?
You just want delivery at some point,
all you want
right?
is delivery. Like you've already passed due the 9 months. You're just kind of waiting. Here you are. You kind of wait. When's the kid? So I'll tell you, next to the young man, I think Keenan Cummings is going to be the happiest guy in the world when the kid gives the word. All right.
So yeah, waiting on him. But West Virginia, I mean, you got a few spots left. You probably use another wide receiver. They've got as many as 6 defensive backs. They've got 3 true defensive backs and 3 kids they listed athletes that most of whom will probably end up in defensive backfield as well. So, but you always need corners in this league. Defensive linemen is at least with Pooler, West Virginia has 2 true defensive linemen in this class, but probably needs another as well, maybe a junior college guy to help them right away.
Now to basketball recruiting. Yes, this was the first day that players could sign, and they have or are going to, but WVU men's side hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, Hugs apparently goes back to the 1930s before even fax machines were.
What are you saying?
Well, in today's world, and fax machines are old-fashioned, those count as official letters of commitment, and the schools can release those signees as soon as the fax comes through. And West Virginia's basketball program has done so. West Virginia's golf program has done so. Its volleyball team has all released that. But Hugs likes to get the FedEx envelope in his hand before he announces any of this. But
I don't know if that was necessary to attack Hugs.
Well, I'm just telling you, calling it the way it is.
So he waits.
So he waits. And he's going to wait until this thing is all finalized because the Saga Kabato, or however,
bless you,
is going to has his official signing tomorrow. All these kids are solid.
Chase Harler's supposed to sign tonight.
Yeah, actually, probably signing as we speak. His press conference was scheduled for 6:00 in Wheeling, and then Magic Bender from Mountain Mission has already signed this afternoon. So he's all said and good. From the people at Mountain Mission have confirmed that. Harler will be finalized today. And then the third and final piece of the puzzle will come tomorrow. But all those are said and good. West Virginia's class will officially be announced, I'd imagine, Thursday, Friday at the very latest.
I think now that it was a ill-advised attack on your part on the basketball coach because number one, Harler didn't sign till right now, so he couldn't have released it earlier today. And then the other kid's signing tomorrow. Well, he's not going to do it one piece at a time. He's going to wait till they're all signed.
You can do it one
piece at a time. I know
you
can. I know.
But you know what? I'll agree with you on this class, but this is 9 years, so we know how the process rolls, and Hugs has done it this way. And again, there's nothing wrong with this, but for the media guys who like to get this thing said and done, we're always pushing the envelope a little bit.
They may want to speed it up since of the advent of social media.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, WV women's basketball program announced the signing of 4 student athletes today. Christina King comes from Thomasville, North Carolina. Chris McCune comes from Louisville. Nia Staples comes from Cincinnati. And Bailey Thomas comes from Rochester Hills, Michigan. So they averaged, they locked in 4 different players. Staples rated the 27th best point guard in the nation by ESPN.
King is a real high-level player. Mountaineers actually signed her 2 years ago.
Right,
Didn't get the academics, had to go to junior college. But when she was coming out of high school in North Carolina, was one of the top players in the country, one of the more highly rated recruits West Virginia's women's programs has gotten in a while.
So there you go. That's what's shaking. Meanwhile, MetroNews High School Sportsline tonight, after this show is over. It begins at 7:06. It runs until 9. First week of the playoffs coming up, and they've got 8 guests on the show. 4 coaches, 4 players. Musselman's coach, Martinsburg's coach, Princeton's coach, Jefferson's coach, Morgantown running back Jordan Page, Huntington receiver Deion Jackson, South Harrison quarterback Ian Riggleman, Pocahontas County quarterback Wyatt Workman. They'll all be coming up on High School Sportsline. College football came down last night. You saw it by now, if you care. With Baylor, the highest-rated Big 12 team at number 6, Oklahoma State 8, Oklahoma 12, TCU number 15. And so you're 4 right now. Clemson 1, Alabama 2, Ohio State 3, Notre Dame 4. I had an irate, Iowa's up to 5. I had an irate longtime Mountaineer fan, called me this morning. Apparently, he didn't know that I host this program from 6 till 7, so he wanted his own private edition of Sportsline. So for 12 minutes, I listened as he was very concerned that the Big 12 was going to get left out of the college football playoff for the second straight year.
And your response?
Well, my response was this. That may or may not be true. It won't be true if one of the Big 12 teams finishes undefeated. It could be true and probably will be true if a Big 12 team wins and has one loss. I think Oklahoma is going to be questionable if they win the league with one loss. I do think that if TCU or Baylor or Oklahoma State, the two undefeateds, if they go undefeated, I don't think there's any doubt they're in. So I wouldn't get too nervous about it. The league, by the way, came out today, Big 12 came out today, and they refuted the conversation that's out there that the league intentionally created a backloaded schedule this season to enhance television ratings in the month of November. They say that the schedule that Big 12 teams were dealt this year was computer generated, and that there were only two games that they specifically, or as some would say specifically, only two games that they wanted late, which was TCU Baylor and Bedlam, which you could completely understand. Yeah. They say other than that, that's the way it happened. Well, I tell you what, West Virginia got a hell of a deal with that computer.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Are you serious?
Commodore 64.
Oh, holy cow. Don't get rid of that computer. How'd that computer play 4 ranked teams in a row, 3 of the 4 on the road, 2 of the 3, 2 of the 4 against top 5 teams? Holy heck. Talk about losing the lottery. Now, it was pointed out, if West Virginia would have beaten Oklahoma State, as they should have, and had Texas beaten Oklahoma State, as they had them lined up to, then all this conversation about the schedule backload and the whole thing in the Big 12 wouldn't be as pronounced. 619, Northside Automotive Statewide Sports Line. We're going to head to Northern Kentucky. We're going to talk with John Brannon, the head basketball coach of the Norse. When we return, still to come, Craig Way, play-by-play voice of the Texas Longhorns. And I'll just tease you with this for Craig. History's going to be made at Mountaineer Field on Friday. History's going to be made at Mountaineer Field on Friday. It'll be the first time in the stadium's history that a basketball game will be broadcast from Milan Puskar Stadium. And that'll happen on Friday. We'll talk with Craig Way about that when we come back. John Brannon's on deck. Stay with us. More coming up.
There are things that make our lives easier.
You know, locking shoelaces, pizza scissors, remote control mops, one-hand bottle cap openers, and the Know Before You Go driving app.
It's free travel information on West Virginia highways, traffic congestion, work zones, road conditions, information that can make your travel easier. Log on to WV511.org or download the WV511 Drive Safe app.
Know Before You Go. It'll make your life easier.
Today is a day to remember. Today is a day to say thank you to all the men and women who have answered our nation's call. On this day, the Friends of Coal would like to take a moment to honor them. Let us cherish all who have worn our nation's uniform. They are fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, sons and daughters, family and friends. Some we see every day. Some lie in gardens of stone or in some favorite spot on a family farm. Others lie where they fell, on little sandy points in Southeast Asia, beneath gently falling snow in the pine forests of Europe, or the warm desert sands of the Middle East. They are the best of us. Today is a day to remember and say thank you. A message from the Friends of Coal.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
To navigate any map, you need a legend celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee 2015 Four-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
Welcome back, everybody. Northside Automotive Statewide Sports Line rolls on now. Tony Caridi along with the coach, Greg Hunter, and we are delighted to be joined by the head basketball coach of the Norse of Northern Kentucky, John Brannon. He'll bring his team in here on Friday night. Do not adjust your set. Yes, John Brannon, and if you're a basketball fan, you're going to go, wait a second, I've heard that name before. And obviously, if you're a Marshall fan, you're going to say, oh, I've more than heard it. I've watched him play. John, good evening to you, and congratulations on taking over this Northern Kentucky team.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I was hoping, I'm insanely proud of my Marshall roots, but I was hoping you didn't mention it because I figured they'd boo enough on Friday that I was bringing the Northern Kentucky team in there.
No.
We might have added to the mix a little bit.
No, let me tell you something. We're not only going to mention it casually, we're going to mention it big. We did our crack research and development team here, did some digging. December 1996, Marshall, West Virginia. John Brannon, 30 points, 8 of 13 from three-point range. However, the Mountaineers did win 103-91. The next year, or the year before that, you put 20 up. That was the 95 season, and Marshall beat West Virginia. So you left some marks there. You left some marks.
You know, it was a fun rivalry, and I hope a few of our guys can make a few shots. I was lucky enough to play it in the Coliseum in Charleston, so we never had to go to Morgantown. So I guess that'll change here on Friday.
The three-point shot was something that you were good at. Let's jump into your basketball team. Let's talk a little bit about style of play. What did you inherit as far as skill level and ability, and what does it mesh the way that you want to play the game?
It's a great question. You just sat in our staff meeting here. You know what? It's interesting. I have a style of play. I get a chance to learn under Coach Donovan. Certainly, played for Coach White there at Marshall, and was with Anthony Grant at Alabama. So it's a distinct style of play of pressing, of really getting up and down. Very much like what West Virginia has done these last few years with Coach Huggins, and that's what we'll do going forward. I inherited a team that probably is not ideal for that style. So we'll implement it, this season, but we'll also adjust it as we continue to recruit and continue to do the things we need to do to build our program. But we won't. I don't think we'll be flying around quite in the full court like West Virginia is accustomed to seeing now with the Mountaineers. But we do have a team that'll play hard, and have a team that I want to get to the point where we are extending the floor and playing at a pace that I'm comfortable with.
John, so you can't fit square pegs into round holes. So what do you do well, do you think?
It's a great question. And I just, as a coach, and that it takes time to evaluate your team. I've learned more in our scrimmage and our exhibition than I knew in the first 5 months on the job. So I'll probably learn even more Friday than it's just putting them in environments and learning. Being at Alabama in the last 6 years, I'm from Northern Kentucky, but I didn't recruit any of the young men, and so I'm learning what I have. I have a high basketball IQ team. I think I have a team that is willing to share the ball and play with each other, and enjoy playing with each other. But I think I'll know that question a lot more halfway through the season. The good thing about it, nobody else knows either, because we don't have any tape on us. So I guess we can. If I don't know, nobody else does either.
That was an interesting comment that you made. You learned more about your team and its exhibition play than you had in the previous 5 months. What's the biggest thing you learned about your team in those games that you didn't know previously?
Well, I just think it's a number of things. I don't think there's any one thing that sticks out. I think I learned what groupings are best together. I learned who I can put in certain situations in terms of extending the floor, not extending the floor. What guys we need to build around from an offensive standpoint. When you're working out in the summer and you're doing some preseason conditioning workouts, you don't find out what guys can do under the bright lights and what they can do when there's referees out there and you put jersey on. That's why I'll learn even more Friday. So just getting guys in the right position to score and be effective offensively. Any style of play is really centered around defensively. Most coaches will tell you their style of play centers around what they want to do defensively. Offensively, oftentimes adjust each year depending on your personnel, and I'm really still learning that. So putting Jalen Billups in a position that's where he can score. Tyler White, guys like that who've played the game for 4 or 5 years now and who understand what it means to go into a West Virginia and play. I probably learned that the most in the last few games.
John Brannon is our guest, first-year head coach of Northern Kentucky. They'll come into the Coliseum, 7 o'clock tip on Friday night as the college basketball season gets underway. You mentioned earlier that you are a native of Northern Kentucky. Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of you getting this job. How did it come about? And obviously you wouldn't leave and wouldn't go here if you didn't think that you could win at a very high level. What's the attraction to Northern Kentucky?
That's a great question. This was beyond coming home. I've told everybody that I've spoken with that I took this job because it was positioned to have success. And what I mean by that, we have great administration. We're fourth-year Division I, so we're still in our last transitional year to go to the NCAA tournament. Can't go to the tournament until next year. So we're in a situation where we're now in the Horizon League, which is a top 10. Last 6 years been a top 10 league in the country. They were the Atlantic Sun last year. We've got. It would be one of the nicest facilities in the SEC. We have an elite facility, 10,000-seat arena. West Virginia obviously played here last year.
Right.
I appreciate Coach Huggins coming up here last year. Now I got to go there for 2 years, and I didn't even get to enjoy him coming here. So that was good. When you take the job, they tell you your first game's at West Virginia. But it's the location. There's tremendous. We signed 5 guys today. It's the first day of signing period. We're 5 minutes from Cincinnati. It's a great location. It's a basketball crazy town. The facilities in the league. So it's positioned for success. Now, with that, you got to have a committed administration. We talked about the great AD at West Virginia now. Shane Lyons is a close friend of mine who's, I think, an elite administrator. I feel like I've got the same here with Ken Butoff, our AD, and President Jeffrey Burns, our president. They've been in the Horizon League before, and they know what it takes. To get there, you have to see it before, and I think that's why I came here. I've had the opportunity to be very blessed to have some success with some elite coaches that I've been around. And to take a program that hasn't been there yet, you need the people in the program that have seen what it looks like already. And I feel like we have that now.
You mentioned Anthony Grant in his time both at VCU and Alabama. So you understand the press. Is what West Virginia doing completely unique from what you've seen in the past? What do you think of their full court pressure?
I think it's brilliant. I mean, you guys have a Hall of Fame coach, and it obviously proves each and every year. And the personnel with the physicality, the length of athleticism, the ability to play hard on every possession. See, what people understand about the press is, there's some schematics to it, there's some intricacies, but you got to get guys to really sell out and play extremely hard. You can have the best athletes in the world, but if they don't play at a high intensity level and are committed to every possession, then it's not going to be effective. And I think it's a great move. I think it's a perfect fit for the personnel that they have, and I'm not at all surprised with the success that they've had with it.
John, what do you think about the rules changes which are being implemented this coming season? Do you think they will have significant change to the game?
When I coached in the NIT at Alabama last year, I didn't think the shot clock was going to have a significant impact on the game. And then coaching in those games, I felt like it had a little bit more than I thought. I feel it's a reverse effect, and let the people, and you probably they'll get mad at me, but I think it's gonna. I don't think scoring is going to increase like they think. I think there's too many really good coaches out there that are going to shrink the game. They're going to take the shot clock and utilize it for more defensive purposes in order to get some later. They may create more possessions, but it may also create later shot clock, later poor shots. Dean Smith once said that, the lower the shot clock would go, the better off his teams would be because his teams are more talented. I think it's going to lead to the more talented teams winning more. The more you shrink the shot clock, then the talent comes out. The longer the shot clock and the ability to milk it a little bit more and extend possessions helps the lower level teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Huggs has said. He thinks that that's exactly what you said. That that's the more talented teams, the lower the shot clock, the better off they will be. He does not include himself in that category. When you've been watching tape here of West Virginia, what are the keys to have success? We've mentioned the press. When you see them offensively, what's the key here?
We really don't. You don't have much. I mean, we don't have much video of them. You got to go by last year. I think like anything else, for us, the key is going to be our ability not to turn the ball over and to be able to, rebound the basketball. I mean, at the end of the day, the success that West Virginia's had is that they made it a possession game. I mean, they had 61 shot attempts a game last year to their opponents, 48? I mean, that's a significant difference. So Coach Huggins and his staff have flipped the script and put the possession and the shot attempts in their favor. And at the end of the day, basketball is as much of a numbers game as any sport. When you have that in your favor, you're going to win a lot more than you're going to lose. So, we got to take care of the basketball, maximize offensive possessions the best that we can, and then we got to do a good enough job try to keep them off the backboard and hope they miss a few shots.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Listen, congratulations again on your appointment to the position. We wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
You bet. You take care. There he is, John Brannon, head basketball coach of Northern Kentucky. It's the Mountaineers and the Norse coming up Friday. Tip set for 7. We invite you to stay tuned. More coming up here on the Northside Automotive Statewide Sports Line.
As a correctional officer with the West Virginia Division of Corrections, you'll also have educational opportunities for a degree in criminal justice at reduced prices. High school diploma or GED and drug screening required. Take advantage of an accelerated hiring and training process that other state agencies don't offer. National Guard members get partial credit in the Training Academy. Visit WVDOC.com.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi. If you're in a business or organization that needs visual help, then let's get together and talk. For more than a decade now, those of us at Pikewood Creative have embraced the opportunity to help people just like you tell their story visually. Whether it's a video, commercial, animation, or motion graphics piece, we produce content that make others take notice. We help people increase their business and organizations better tell their story. If you need help, then contact us at pikewoodcreative.com.
Thursday nights on MetroNews, it's Mountain East Conference football. This Thursday, the Fairmont State University Fighting Falcons visit the Glenville State Pioneers, and MetroNews brings you all the action. Join Travis Jones and Rasheed Marshall for the call of the game starting at 7. Don't miss Division II football at its best as the Falcons take on the Pioneers on Mountain East Conference Thursday night football from MetroNews and WVMetroNews.com. The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes, on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
There. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
To navigate any map, you need a legend. Celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee, 2015 Four-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Welcome back in, everybody. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline. Tony Caridi along with the coach, Greg Hunter. Hey, a reminder, there is a game changer when it comes to hunting in West Virginia this coming fall, and I'm referring to the DNR's ID number. Every hunter, every trapper, you have to have it to check your game. This is a unique number. It's the one that you'll use from now on. Even if you're a landowner, even if you're under the age of 15, or if you otherwise don't need a license, you still need a DNR personal ID number. With an ID number, you can check your game over the phone at a licensed agent or online. Go to wvhunt.com. That's wvhunt.com. Remind you can watch this program every evening on our video stream at MetroNews. That's wvmetronews.com. We head out to Austin, Texas, and we are joined now by the veteran, talented, matinee idol play-by-play voice of the University of Texas Longhorns, Craig Way. Good evening to you, Craig.
I'm not even a matinee idol in my own home.
No, I disagree
let alone
with that.
Anywhere else.
No, I think you could be a fine character actor. I really do. Coach Hunter, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could be a guy like in the back, like when the main scene's at the front table in the restaurant, you could be like the couple behind that table. I think you could be that guy.
I have been described, Tony, as a character, so that'll work. But actor, I don't know.
No question about that. So before you came on earlier in the program, I said history is going to be made at Milan Puskar Stadium on Friday night. For the first time in the stadium's history, a basketball game will be broadcast from the football stadium. Would you care to elaborate and let our listeners know what's going on?
Not only from the stadium, but from the home radio broadcast booth.
Yeah, you're in our booth.
How about that?
Yeah.
When we visited last year, I believe it was, we were talking about things upcoming, and I mentioned that it looked like I was going to actually miss the football game in Morgantown between Texas and West Virginia because the Texas Longhorn basketball team would be opening its season, a brand new season, a brand new era. Shaka Smart coming down from Virginia Commonwealth, and there was this Shaka Smart era was going to begin in Shanghai, China. And they would be playing the University of Washington. It's called the Pac-12 China Series or China Game or whatever. The Pac-12 runs this thing. And Washington is their host institution for this. They've done a lot of Pacific Rim things. They had Oregon playing in Korea last year.
Right.
So I was asked by then, and only for a brief time, athletic director Steve Patterson, if I would go to China because, as he put it, they were trying to expand the international brand of the University of Texas, and it being Shaka's first game. I'm a team guy. I said, sure, I'll go to China, that sort of thing. So I thought that I was going to be missing the football game. And so plans were implemented for me to go to China, or so we thought. Come to find out that the Pac-12 conference and with the group they were working with to make all of these arrangements failed to do all of the proper due diligence, not only for the Longhorn IMG radio network broadcast crew to travel to be in Shanghai, but for their own host institution, the University of Washington. and you have to, you have to procure these J9 work visas to bring in all kinds of electronic news gathering equipment to do that, because the Chinese government's a little bit sensitive about what broadcast images are emanating from the country.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where there were so many entanglements that apparently the Chinese government finally told the Pac-12 conference, you know what? They're not coming. We're not allowing it. So
headline, Wei barred from China.
Yeah, and my broadcast partner on the talk show here in town, Rod Babers, thinks it's because the Chinese government is suspicious of me, something I've done or not done.
There's a chance.
There's a chance of that. So in lieu of that, because we do have a radio audience and they got to know what's going on, I will actually be calling the game off of a monitor with what's called the clean feed. We're getting all the effects feeds and all that other stuff supplied by ESPN from Shanghai, and through the good graces of the Mountaineer Sports Network from IMG and Chris Ferris and all the great people at IMG, they said, no, just use our radio booth. It's a little better set up than the visiting radio booth. We'll just do that. We'll have everything set up for you. So, yes, when I arrive in Morgantown Friday, I'll be calling a basketball game Friday night from China, that will take place in China, from the home radio booth in your radio booth in Morgantown. So I'm indebted to you and to Chris Ferris and to the Mountaineer Sports Network from IMGI. So I'm looking forward to it, but it will be a little different, no doubt about that.
Are you going by yourself, or are you working with your regular color guy? How are you doing that?
Well, we did, by the time that this thing all came down, it didn't make much sense to fly Eddie Orrin from Austin to Morgantown to call a game in China.
Yeah.
So Roger Wallace, who is my backup on basketball and who does color with me on football, will work as analyst on this basketball.
That's good stuff. I might stop over. We tip at 7. I might come over there just to watch you in the second half.
We're not even tipping till 10 o'clock Eastern time.
Oh, 10 o'clock Eastern. Oh, yeah, because it's 9 Central. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to stop over there. I'm just going to stand there behind you.
Will you bring me some pepperoni rolls? I'll pay for them.
Well, you see, in the home radio booth, I didn't know if they told you this or not, there's butler service. There'll be a butler there.
Oh, wow, okay. I should have known that.
A butler there the entire night, anything that you need. And,
speaking of matinee idols.
Absolutely. Hey, football-wise, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the weirdest, what's the weirdness of your football season been on a scale of 1 to 10?
8.5 at least.
At least an 8.5.
At least. I've told people this, and I had this Saturday will be my 300th game in the booth, regular for football. Actually, the 300th broadcast would have been last Saturday because I was filling in as the analyst on the A&M game in 91. But really, 92 is when I started being the regular analyst and moved to play-by-play in 2002 for football. And so it'll be the 300th broadcast for me in the booth. And of all of those broadcasts, the only season that's been stranger was 1994, when they had this crazy up and down season where they lost to Rice and TCU, but beat a good Pittsburgh team with Curtis Martin, and wound up going to the Sun Bowl and beating a North Carolina team coached by Mac Brown that year. That's when John McAfee was the coach in 94. That team wound up being 8-4, and it was very, very bizarre. This has been even stranger, mainly because of injuries and this influx, and I do mean influx, of freshmen, true freshman play. Tony, the other night against Kansas, they had at one point, and it wasn't just for one play, it was like a couple of series, 7 true freshmen playing defense.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been bizarre. It's been very, very strange with some of the things that have happened.
So, Craig, with all that, obviously we know that there are struggles. How the heck did they beat Oklahoma?
That's the million-dollar question, Coach. It continues to come up. With young people, sometimes they get fired up and motivated and inspired and all that sort of stuff. The coaches will tell you that what they showed against Oklahoma, what they showed against Kansas State, are what they think is going to be ultimately the real team that down the road is there and helps return Texas to Big 12 prominence, that sort of stuff. But they've been fighting through just maniacal inconsistencies. They've had some injury things. And they obviously they had the change in the coaching staff in terms of the play calling, so that adds to the instability. It's been a very turbulent, unstable type of situation with a lot of that, and a lot of it had to do with the inconsistencies of the players. It all came together, and they were properly motivated and all that sort of stuff. But if you ask Charlie Strong or today Vance Bedford, they'll tell you that they are doing the exact same things for every road game. They haven't won a true road game this year. The Oklahoma game was in Dallas, but they said that doesn't really count. It wasn't on an opponent's home field, and they're trying to recapture some of that stuff, but they just haven't been able to find it in a true road environment this year.
So as the guy that's called every snap so far this season, what do you see as the biggest difference when they are playing home and when they're playing on the road?
That's a great question, Tony. I don't know. I would say that young players, some of the young, and they're having to play, like I said, a lot of freshmen, redshirt freshmen. They start a redshirt freshman at quarterback. They have very young players in a lot of key positions. Now they have some veterans. I mean, Peter Jenkins is a senior linebacker, and they have Duke Thomas in the secondary. They have that Taylor Doyle is the center. They've got some seniors and some leaders back there. But in some other key areas, they've had young guys who maybe felt more comfortable at home. I don't know. In that game against OU, got all fired up and did all the things they were supposed to do and were dialed in and tuned in. And when they've gotten on the road, the most confounding game obviously has been Iowa State, because they thought they were on a roll after beating Oklahoma and Kansas State. They thought they were on a roll. They go into Ames and were unbelievably flat, and from minute one. And they've gone back and have analyzed it, and Charlie says we did everything exactly the same as we've done on all other road trips. It wasn't logistics. It wasn't the meal. It wasn't a walk-through in the parking lot or whatever. It wasn't any of that stuff. It was about, he said, I guess we didn't do a good enough job motivating him, although we did everything like we always do. They just didn't come in. And that's been the confounding thing, and that's part of what's made this football season so strange.
So, Craig, when Texas plays well on the field, what do they do right?
Well, when they're playing well, it means they're doing two things. The old football adages of running the ball well and stopping the run. When they beat Oklahoma, they rushed for 313 yards, and they held the Sooners to 67 yards. That seems mind-boggling when you think of the way that Oklahoma is playing now. But they were stopping Samaje Perine, and they were stopping Mixon, and they were getting pressure on Baker Mayfield. They were doing that sort of stuff. When they have not done well, and again, I'll point to the Iowa State game. They didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. They let Joel Lanning scramble out on 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 18, and run for first downs. They allowed Iowa State to convert, I believe it was 12 of 25 third down conversion situations, things like that on the defensive side. On the offensive side, when they haven't run the ball well, Kansas State loaded up in the box to stop the run in the second half, and I think Iowa State took the page from that. Then the Longhorns could not counter with the pass. Either enough pressure was coming in, or Gerard Hurd pulled the ball down too quickly without being patient enough to go through his progressions, and was taken off and gaining minimal gains that were big gains against gains that he had on the ground against California and even Oklahoma State in those games, and Oklahoma. So those are the most obvious things. I think there are little nuances of stuff that they've missed, that young players are going to make mistakes, and we expect that. Some of the older guys, they've made mistakes too, and they've been supplanted by younger guys on the field. And then you worry about what the chemistry thing has been like as well.
Right.
So they've really had to work on all of that to try to see if they can marshal all of that before they go back on the road.
Craig Way, the play-by-play voice of Texas, is joining us. One last question for you. With all of that being said, then, handicap in your mind this game on Saturday. So you've looked at West Virginia now. Obviously, you know the Longhorns. What's in your heart of hearts as to what you think potentially could happen in this game?
Mighty concerned, obviously. I think the coaches are about stopping the running game, being able to contain Wendell Smallwood and Russell Shell. I think they're really concerned about being able to limit the game, and also, like I mentioned, Joel Lanning. If Skyler's able to get outside and find open targets downfield the way he can, and he can get a little more comfortable on the rollouts or going to quick outs, that can cause them a lot of problems. I think that's the concern defensively. Offensively, if they're not able to run the ball, if Deontay Foreman can't get going, and Jonathan Gray, and if Jay Gray, who's haunted by the ghost of 2 years ago when he popped his Achilles there in the third quarter of that epic overtime game, then, if they're not able to get that going, then they're going to have real trouble moving the football. The things that haunted them and cost them in the games against, obviously, TCU, but also down the stretch against Oklahoma State and certainly against Iowa State are the things that could cost them Saturday if they're not ready to go.
Great insight. One trip for you and 2 games. That's a good weekend's worth of work. Craig, we really appreciate your time, buddy. Look forward to seeing you.
All right. Great to hear from you again, Tony, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
You got a deal. Thanks a bunch. There he is, Craig Way, the voice of the Texas Longhorns. We'll take our final break. Stay with us. Apparently, Hunter rattled the cage enough. The WVU's basketball office has released 2 signings officially signed on the dotted line. We'll talk about those when we return.
Coming this fall, the brand that brought you the ultimate outdoor experience now brings you the award-winning cast. The Jeep brand lineup is a captivating ensemble. Critics are calling the Jeep Renegade inspiring with up to 31 miles per gallon highway. Four-Wheeler Magazine names Jeep Cherokee the 2015 4x4 of the year. And Grand Cherokee is being recognized as the most luxurious SUV in its class. From the highways to the mountains, from the skyscrapers to the stars, this lineup has something for everyone. Presenting the Jeep brand lineup. Get 0% APR for 75 months on most 2015 Cherokee models at the Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster sales event going on now.
Exclude sport model. Financing equals $13.33 per month for $1,000 finance for qualified buyers through Chrysler Capital, regardless of down payment. Not all buyers will qualify. Take retail delivery by 11/30/15. See dealer for details. EPA estimate 4x2 with 1.4-liter multi-air turbo engine and 6-speed manual transmission. Actual results may vary. Word segmentation. Summit Model Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
All Medicare eligible individuals. It's time for open enrollment. Take advantage of the health plan's Medicare plans with benefits such as Silver Sneakers gym membership, an extensive list of doctors and hospitals. Contact us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 1-877-847-7915 or visit healthplan.org/Medicare. This information is not a complete description of benefits. Contact the plan for more information. Limitations, copayments, and restrictions may apply. Benefits and/or copayments, coinsurance may change on January 1 of each year.
The Northside Automotive statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
To navigate any map, you need a legend, celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee 2015 4-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
A reminder, we need your help. We are not shaving the entire month of November. We're doing that for the West Virginia Alzheimer's Association. There's a website that you can learn more about what we're doing, who's doing it, and you can make a donation. So we're encouraging you and asking you to do that. If you would, go to noshavewv.com. That's noshavewv.com. All right. So since we've come on the air, it's 6:30, they released this over at WVU. Hugs announcing today the signing of 2 players, Maychek Bender, known as Magic. Maychek Bender and Chase Harler have officially signed their letters of intent. Bender, 6'10", 235 from Warsaw, Poland, originally attending Mountain Mission School, Grundy, Virginia. And through 4 games this season, they've already started their season. He's averaging 15 and 9. As a junior, he averaged 13 and 8. And Chase Harler from Moundsville, getting ready for his senior season at Wheeling Central. He's already set the school record for all-time points, 1,738. And he broke the record a year ago when he went off in a 33-point effort. So, Hunter, there's 2 of the recruits in.
Yeah, one more tomorrow. Sagaba Kanote from up outside of Pittsburgh is going to sign a 6'8", 240-pound post player for West Virginia. So Bender, more of an outside threat, Kanote inside, and then Harler, the guard that will lead them. Probably, what do you think? I mean, you've talked to Hugs a little bit. Point, what do you I mean, he can play off the ball a whole lot. So
well, I think it's 2.
Yeah.
I think it's 2.
But so this will pretty much finish this class. We expect, I guess you never say never, but this actually puts West Virginia 1 over the scholarship limit.
No such thing.
You know how that works. But certainly West Virginia happy with what they've got. Like I said, 2 today, there'll be 1 tomorrow.
Over. It's never over. It's never over. No, so that's good. 2 or 3. And apparently they were either listening to this program when you chastised them, or they were just waiting for Chase Harler to sign his letter at 6 o'clock. Probably the latter rather than the former.
They had everything ready.
Again, a reminder that coming up at 7:06 on many of these same stations, we've got high school Sportsline. They've got a bevy of coaches. They've got 4 coaches, 4 players as we get ready for the first weekend of the high school football playoffs. Garrett Cullen, Fred Persinger, Dave Jecklin, they will all be in, and so we encourage you to check that out. Our music's on. We're out. Thanks for listening, everybody. Coming up tomorrow night, 6:06, we'll be back with the Northside Automotive Statewide Sports Line, High School Sports Line on the other side. Thanks for being with us. We're out. See you.